Good morning, Major General Doron Almog. Boker Tov, Manyanim. How are you?
Boker Tov. Good. We are optimistic, and we look at the future and see positive things, many positive things. Israel is a miracle. The state of Israel is a miracle for the Jewish people. The third temple. Israel is getting stronger and stronger. Of course, there are many controversial things here in Israel, a lot of criticism in the wake of last election and building a new government, a big government, but we need to look at the positive side.
Sure. Before we begin, ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to introduce you to our guest this morning, Major General Doron Almog. Major General Doron Almog is a hero of Israel, Gibor Shel Israel. What else can I tell you? He won the Israel Prize in 2016. Doron Almog, just for a bit of background, he's been through everything. In 1973, he lost his brother in the Yom Kippur War. His brother Eran, Alav Shalom, was killed in action. Doron had 3 children, Nitzan, Eran, and Shoham. His son Eran was born with severe autism and brain damage and died in 2007. Doron had a daughter, Shoham, who was born with a heart condition and died in 1991. And Doron lost 5 members of his own family in a suicide bombing in 2003. And beyond all of this, perhaps what you're most famous for is setting up Aleh Negev, which is a special village in Israel for disabled children. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll share with you a very short clip of Doron Almog giving a TED talk to set context to the power of our guest this morning.
What is the parent dream? If I ask you to choose 2 words describing the parent dream, I believe most of you would say healthy child. When we draw our cell phone showing pictures of a successful child, as a matter of fact, we speak about ourselves. Because who made him? He's the extension of our own ego. Our second child was born 1984. We gave him the name of my brother that was killed in the war and expected him to be better than us, more successful, more talented, a source of pride. At the age of 8 months, he was diagnosed, and Didi, my wife, and me were told by the psychologist, your son is having a combination of autism and retardation. Probably he will never speak. Probably he will mentally stay child forever. That was a shock. The sky fell on our head. The parent dream became broken parent dream. How we continue managing our life if our son has no future at all? This son, all his life, has never said 1 word. Never said Abba, Dad. Never said Ima, Mom. Never made eye contact. And he was the greatest professor of my life. He taught me more than any other human being about myself, about our society, about children like him. These children, unable to eat by themselves, unable to dress by themselves, even unable to say, please replace my diaper. These children are punished for 2 life sentences. 1, broken body for all their life. And second, one day being taken and put in institute, which is a full life jail. When he was born, at that time, I was Special Force Unit Commander. 33 years old, Lieutenant Colonel, leading operations in Sudan to bring Jews who were in life danger from Ethiopia to the state of Israel, the only Jewish state in the world. Behind me were hundreds of battles all over the Middle East, in Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, Egypt, and more. Behind me was the very famous rescue operation in Entebbe, 1976, rescuing 105 Israeli hostages who were kept 1 week of their life hostage. I was the first on the ground. I was the first on the ground and the last to leave the Entebbe airfield. And behind me were the memories of the Yom Kippur War, 1973. In this war, I lost many of my friends. In many moments, I thought I won't see the next morning. But above all, the memories of the telephone conversation with my mother at the end of that war. My brother fought in the Golan Heights. I fought in the south. And I was afraid to ask. Then I got the courage, and she said, we lost Eran. We have no Eran anymore. My brother was killed. I came home, continued to the Golan Heights to investigate his last battle. I found his burned tank, and shockingly, I learned to know that he was shot by a Syrian tank, thrown outside, bleeding, pleading, shouting for assistance, 7 days. He was evacuated, dead already. I was raging, frustrated, angry, and I swore to never, ever leave a wounded soldier behind.
Doron, looking back at your life, you've lived a very incredible life. You live in a place called Nes Sionah, which means the miracle of Zion, of Israel. I look at you, I see the miracle of Israel. What you and your life represents, what you stand for. Looking back at your life, what would you consider as your greatest legacy and achievement?
My life is dedicated for two Eran. One is my brother, who was killed in the Yom Kippur War, and the second, our son. And our son became something like a huge echo box of my brother, who was left behind. You know, in military, we say never leave the wounded behind. My brother was left behind, bleeding 7 days near his burned tank. And he could be saved. He was thrown outside. He was hit in his left leg. If someone came to him and put bandage on his left leg, he could be saved. It didn't happen. And in respect of my military service, all the 35 years of my military service were dedicated. Not all that, you know, I joined the military 69, but 4 years later he was killed, 73. So 31 for my service is dedicated to my brother. My brother was the power behind me to enrich my life and to do everything to save people. Now, I did my oath near his burned tank, and I swore to never ever leave a wounded soldier behind, just like that. That was my oath to my brother. And then, yeah, I was bereaved family. My parents supported me. You know, Isaac sacrificed it. It's not only in the Bible, it's in my house. Because my commander asked me to be the commander of the Sayeret Sanchanim, the reconnaissance unit, the unit which landed first in Entebbe. And 2 years after the Yom Kippur War, he called me and said, "You are the best company commander in the Power Brigade. I want to give you the most risky the job, which is the reconnaissance unit commander, but you are bereaved family. I don't know if I'm allowed to give you and to enrich you because you are bereaved family. So I told
just to mention for our audience, Doron was one of the first soldier to land in Entebbe and the last one to leave Entebbe. Is that correct?
Right. That's right.
Can you tell us briefly about that whole experience? I mean, to be involved in possibly the most famous mission in Israel's history and to be at the very front of the front lines, what was that experience like?
First of all, I'm lucky. I'm lucky to participate in hundreds of dangerous missions behind enemy line and stay alive. I lost many of my friends. But Entebbe is something very unique because it's about our values. You know, 105 Israeli hostages were taken hostage, kept in Entebbe between June 28 and July 4. And the 7 terrorists tried to negotiate with the Israeli government and asked the Israeli government, headed at that time by Rabbi, to free 52 terrorists from Israel, fly them to Germany. The state of Israel continue negotiating, said the terrorists, okay, let's go and negotiate. And 2 days before the operation, Friday, July 2nd, I got the order to come with my unit to abandon airfield. And we started preparation on Friday, July 2nd. We did a model exercise along Friday and Friday night. And we were briefed by, at that time, Minister of Defense was Shimon Peres, Bontagur was Chief of Staff. I remember the night before the operation when our Minister of Defense, Shimon Peres and Bontagur, the Chief of Staff, that, you know, they asked us, the commanders, how we feel about the mission. And one thing which is very important, you know, ministers, prime minister, generals, they stay behind. A part of their confidence is given by the soldiers, by the fighter. So you need to be sure, number one, that this is the right mission. Number two, that you are able to do it. Number three, to convince them to send, you know, that's what they wanted to hear. I don't know if you're aware, but while flying to Entebbe, the Israeli government was sitting in Jerusalem discussing to confirm or not to confirm while we flew to Entebbe. So that was the night before. We flew from Ben Gurion airport. There was military part, the eastern part of Ben Gurion airport. We flew to Sharm el-Sheikh, very low altitude, very jumpy. I was in the first Hercules under the Mercedes, with the 2 Mercedes in the first Hercules, 2 Mercedes and 2 Land Rover Jeeps. And there was a leak of gasoline resulted by the bumps, a leak of gasoline from the tank. So I told Yoni Netanyahu, Yoni was killed in the operation, the brother of our prime minister. I told him there's a leak of gasoline, but I think that chewing gum is enough. So we closed the hole with the chewing gum. We landed 11 p.m. sharp. About 1 hour before landing, we were alert. We shook hands. Yoni passed among all his soldiers, 35 soldiers from his unit, 10 soldiers from my unit. We were friends, shook hands. And then 11 p.m. landed. After about 1,000 meters, the Hercules slowed down. We jumped outside. I jumped first with 10 soldiers. 4 marked the runway because we estimated, I don't know, you know, according to international procedure, the lights along the runway kept light. This is the procedure, the international procedure. But we didn't ask permission for the first landing, so we assessed they will switch off all the lights, and that's what they did. They switch off, suddenly they switch off all the light. So 4 soldiers under my command mark the runway with battery lights, 7 in each side. It's 14 battery lights at 600 meters. So 7 minutes after the first Hercules landed number 2, 1 minute after number 2 landed number 3. 1 minute after number 3 landed number 4. But number 1 was the Hercules with the force to do the mission by itself. So after we jumped and I continued to take over the new control tower, and then the Hercules continued more 2 kilometers and then disembarked the 1 Mercedes and the 2 Land Rover Yoni Netanyahu in his unit, continue moving fast toward the old terminal. The idea was to surprise the terrorists. Along the way, there was a small encounter. They started firing toward the soldiers, Ugandan soldiers, but they didn't lose surprise. That was, one of the miracles. That they continue, arrived to the old terminal, jumped from all sides, penetrated inside, and at the first 2 minutes, they killed the 7 terrorists and about more 30 Ugandan guards. 4 Ugandan guards were near my control tower. And we took over the control tower. And as a matter of fact, the operation was over after a few minutes. But then number 2 and number 3 Hercules brought 2 APCs, armored personnel carrier, each one. It was a Russian APCs, BTR-40. Why? Because each one, the weight of each one was only 5 tons. The American APC is 10 tons. So we have a problem of gasoline flying only one side. So the 4 APCs came by Hercules 2 and Hercules 3. They did a reinforcement and cut off the Ugandan forces, which were supposed to come from the Entebbe, from the town Entebbe. So they also should destroy the Sam-21 MiG-21, the airplanes, the Ugandan airplanes. And number 4 Hercules was a medical team. And number 4 Hercules got permission after the operation in the old terminal, killing the terrorists and rescuing the 105 Israeli hostages, got permission to get closer. That was the only Hercules to get closer for about 100 meters from the building. And then the hostages were taken inside together with Yoni Netanyahu. And they landed last and took off first. And then number 3 later, number 2 took off, and number 1, which landed first, was the last to take off.
Sure.
We continue to Kenya, to Nairobi, landed for refueling because we had no enough gasoline to fly back to Israel. We brought some pumps from Israel. We started pumping in the arena of the new terminal, a place that Ershko Surin was one of the paratroopers that was shot by a civilian with a pistol in his head, and he's wounded until now in a wheelchair. So we continue to Nairobi, refuel, continue to Israel. Number 4 Hercules landed in Ben Gurion, and the rest 3 landed in Tel Nof, in one of the military airfield. We were welcomed by Minister of Defense, but the main joy was in Ben Gurion airfield. The families arrived, and that was also the 200th anniversary of the United States. And that was a huge joy for many Jews all over the world, maybe most of the Jews all over the world, maybe in United Kingdom as well, and Israel as well.
I think Entebbe historically, really raised Jewish pride around the world. Obviously, it was bittersweet and terribly tragic that Yoni Netanyahu lost his life, and that must have been very hard for you and for all the other soldiers to live with.
Absolutely. A part of our life, a part of the military service is be ready to give your life every single minute to defend our country. At the first day when you join the military, you swear to be ready to give your life to defend your country. And as a matter of fact, all military service is one big test on your determination and your readiness to sacrifice your life for the only Jewish state in the world. That's just like that. So,
tell me something, you know, what is it that makes the Israeli army so unique, so special? What makes them so good? What's their secret?
I think that number one is that point, you know, knowing there is no alternative. We have only one Jewish state, which was born 3 years after the Holocaust, after the Second World War, after 6 million Jews were killed, were massacred, and it's our responsibility to guarantee the existence of the state of Israel. Just like that, you know, this is number one issue, the spirit. The spirit is the spirit of Entebbe. You know, I had told you about the conversation with the Chief of Staff and Minister of Defense before the operation. The spirit that we have no alternative. By the way, Ben-Gurion also spoke about we are with our back to the wall in 48, in our independence war. All, you know, and our independence war, you know, from November 29, 1947 until March 49, that's all miracle. It's all miracle. 600,000 Jews, about half of them, 50% Holocaust survivors, and fighting against 7 armies. May 14, the invasion of Arabs' armies, from November 47 up to May 48, they fought against the Palestinians, the Arabs here. But then May 14, just to remind you, the Brits, the last British soldier left Palestine at that time. May 15, May 14, that was Friday, May 14, Friday, 4 p.m., Ben-Gurion declared a Jewish state, which was controversial. Many said, no, you won't survive. So Ben-Gurion spoke about our back to the wall. We have no alternative. So, you know, pointing what the main issue, what is the spirit until now? Israel is powerful, economically, militarily, but Israel, first of all, is about the spirit, about dedication, about commitment, about each soldier knowledge that it's all in our hand. It's our responsibility to shape the boundaries of Israel, to guarantee the existence of the state of Israel. This is number one point. That's about.
Tell me something. You know, you're an inspiration listening to some of your stories, and you're very passionate about your Zionism and your love of Israel. Who was your mentor growing up? Who was the greatest influence on your life?
Number one, my parents. You know, speaking about my spirit, number one, it's about my.
Were they Holocaust survivors?
No, my parents born in Israel. My parents born under the British mandate. Under the British mandate, you know, and they had one dream, to have one day to have a Jewish state. That was the dream of my parents. So, you know, along my education, my children, you know, I got the idea that the most important thing, my parents were not religious. They were not religious. They came from Russia, 1910, my family from Ukraine after the pogrom, 1903, when Jews were killed and massacred. They said, no more. We take responsibility. We take initiative. We come and build a Jewish state. No more pogroms. No more killing Jews with no reward. No more. So, you know, this is a rebellion also against religious. They said, we are secular. We take responsibility to our destiny. They came, they both landed here in Israel. But the most important thing along my childhood was that the most important thing is the Jewish state. And also they believe that for the Jewish state, you should be ready to sacrifice your life. So number one, my parents. They gave me the commitment, they gave me the dedication. And you know, this is the silver plater generation. This is a song of Ann Alterman, the Magash HaKesef, the silver plater generation. That's my parents. You know, they lost many of their friends along the independent war. Every Friday, every Saturday, what they spoke about the independent war. They spoke about the friends who fell in battle to free Jerusalem. Jerusalem was under siege during 48. I have pictures here in my salon of my dad and mom before my father go to battle to open the corridor to Jerusalem. So, you know, you are educated, you are shaped, first of all, by your parents and the society. The society of Israel, I born 1951, but in the 50s, what is the generation of the first generation in the newly born Jewish state? What is the first generation? Many of them, the children of Holocaust survivor,
sure.
About 50%. You know, you're looking forward, not look at our past, looking forward, telling the children, we have only one Jewish state. We need to fight for this state. We need to make it flourish.
And tell me something interesting. In 2005, you came to the UK. You were on a mission to raise money for the charity that you had set up. And as a major general of the Israeli army, you were told not to get off the plane because there was an arrest warrant for war crimes. Can you tell us a little bit about this crazy story? Tell us about it. What happened?
I was announced. Luckily, I was announced by our intelligence that announced the pilot, El Al pilot. And while landing, the El Al pilot told me, "Don't get down. There's ambush in the custom. There are 3 arrest warrants against you. Don't get down. If you get down, you're arrested." I stay on board. I did some telephone calls to Avichai Mendelblit at that time, who was now is chief prosecutor here in Israel, but at that time it was the legal advisor, the chief legal advisor of chief of staff. He was major general at that time. I did the telephone call to Avichai and asked him, "What do you say?" He said, "Don't get down. This is ambush. Come back to Israel." So we flew back to Israel. I gave many interviews to the British Channel 4 and many British media. I spoke about the case because, you know, this is hypocrisy. This is real hypocrisy. The British.
What was the crime? What was the crime you've been accused of committing?
There were operations in Gaza, which the Israeli court, all of them, all the operation in Gaza defined as self-defense. One of them was killing Salah Shahada, which was a Palestinian murderer who killed 94 Israelis. So while killing him, some Palestinians were killed. They said massacred. That was one thing. The other thing were bulldozing orchards in order to strengthen the line, the boundary between the Gaza Strip and the state of Israel, in order to create line of sight for our observation posts. When terrorists want to move, suicide bomber want to move and cross the border, in order to create line of sight. So we bulldoze the orchards, the trees, we destroy tunnels. So they said, they claim that this is a crime against humanity, things like that. You know, that was I lost many soldiers at that period. I lost about 58 soldiers when I was the commander of the Israeli Southern Command. I lost 26 civilians. And I came, you know, I came to UK to speak with Jews in synagogue in Birmingham about what? About disabled people, which is, as I said, my life is dedicated to disabled people, not to leave behind the weakest members in our society, the disabled, the wounded, the crippled, the handicapped. So I came, and then I hear, what a shame, 3 arrest warrants and blah, blah, blah. So we flew back to Israel. Since that event, I never arrived back to UK, never. Despite the British government apologized. Jack Straw was the Minister of Foreign Minister. He apologized. The Prime Minister at that time also apologized. And then, but they said, according to the law, in the British law and the separation of power, our hands are tied. We cannot do anything in this respect.
Can we invite you back again? I think it's a long time overdue.
Yeah. You know, this is ironic. That's ironic that the UK government continue behaving like the British mandate. You know, there's no mandate anymore. What you know about the battles here in Israel? What you know about the conflict? Between the Jews and the Palestinians. Well, you know, okay. On what basis you come with your opinion?
Sure.
Yeah. But
let me ask you this. You know, you changed your whole career path. You set up an entire new community in Aleh Negev. This whole direction of your life changed hugely. Can you tell us a little bit of that story and setting up that community and why you did it and how you did it and the success of it?
You know, on one side, along my military service was my brother. My brother who left behind in the Yom Kippur War. And my ode to my brother. 11 years after the Yom Kippur, our second child was born. We gave him the name of my brother that was killed in the war. And as parents, we expected him to be better than us, a source of pride. You know what the parents want. Parents wish themselves that their children will continue the legacy of the family, be successful, wise, a source of pride. That's it, just like that. So at the age of 8 months, he was diagnosed, and Didi, my wife, and me were told by a psychologist, your son is having a combination of autism and retardation. That the specific word, she said, retardation, not impairment, cognitive, no, she said retardation. She said, probably will never speak, probably he will stay permanently at the age of 3-4 months, something like that. You know, my wife started crying. You know, there are moments in life you feel the sky crashed on your head. That was one of these moments. You ask yourself how to continue managing your life. You know, our children, as a matter of fact, it's not only the expectation, the parent dream. The children, as a matter of fact, is something we would like to see the continuation of the family. We want them to be better than us. And then we were announced by this diagnosis, and this child who has never said one word, never said dad, never said mom, never made eye contact, he became the greatest teacher of my life, the greatest professor. He taught me about ourselves, about commitment, about love, about values, about what is Judaism. You know, and I'm sorry to tell you, but here in the state of Israel, many children like him were highly discriminated. Families were behind big, heavy walls of shame and stigma, and never tell the family, the other sibling, and never share with friends and with other family members, and some families taking the child, put them overseas. Yigal Alon was a legendary Major General, took his daughter Nurit, put her in Scotland. They hide it, you know, it was a secret. So that this child was never spoken with me one word, is like debating with me. My dear father, what a shame. My dear father, you remember the Holocaust? You remember the racist ideology? You remember that the first to be killed, the first to be taken to camps were children like me? September 1st, 1939, Hitler himself signed the T4 Actia. T4 Actia is an order signed by Hitler to shift the psychiatric center all over Germany to small concentration camp, gather the retarded children like our son, kill them first in small gas chambers. So this child saying to me, my dear father, what a shame. This is the only Jewish state, my dear father? So what about ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, love your friend as love yourself? What about commitment? My dear father, you flew to Entebbe to rescue hostages, but there were 1 week hostage. 1 week. My dear father, I'm hostage from birth, unable to do anything by my power, unable to dress by myself, to eat by myself, unable even to say 1 word.
For the benefit of our audience, I just want to share with everyone, a picture of you with your son. You can see this is a picture of you and Eran on the left. And this is a picture of the Aleh Negev, the institution that you bought, that you built, the institution that you built. Can you share with us some of the background? First of all, what a beautiful picture. And
yeah,
it must have been very difficult when he passed away for you and your family. But could you share with us some of the experiences that you had building this? How were you able to build such a magnificent center of excellence?
Yeah, you know, in Israel, we have a special education law. The special education law bound the treatment from age 3 to 21. When he was 21, we got formal letter from Israeli Minister of Education saying your son reached 21. You won't be able to continue studying any longer in special education school. That's it. Just like that. In the United States, they have something like that. They call it bloody 21. The barrier of 21. So we decided to give a solution, full lifespan for children like him from 21 and over. When I was the commander of the Israeli Southern Command, while fighting in Gaza, killing terrorists, preventing terrorists to cross the border and kill Israelis, at the same time, I convinced the government, headed by Ariel Sharon, I convinced the government to support a new idea, building a village for severely disabled people and children like my son.
Wow.
Full lifespan until they pass away. For 180 children. We have, in this village, we have 160. Right now, we build another neighborhood. But
it was renamed after your son when your son passed away, right?
Yes, he passed away after 1 year living in this village. You know, so we started planning the village parallel to the period when I was the commander of the Israeli South Command. I was the commander between 2000 to 2003, but we planned it in 2001, 2002, 2003, 3 years. We started in 2003 when I was the commander of the Southern Command. Ariel Sharon, the Prime Minister, arrived to the site. We did the groundbreaking ceremony, and he threw a stone to a barrel. And shortly after that, we started building. 2006, we opened. In January 2006. Unfortunately, our son lived 1 year and 1 month. In February 7, 2007, he passed away. And the legacy continued in his spirit all over the village, every corner. But what we have in this village, on the opposite to what Didi, my wife, and me experienced in Israel, we moved to many institutes to see what kind of institute the state of Israel built for children, for these severely disabled children like our son. Then you open the door, you get a blow of stink. And then you see distorted faces of children who are afraid from the world. And then you see shameful workers and stuff. So we decided not anymore. We decided we want a place which would be a pride of our society. You know, we wanted to break down the walls of stigma and shame. So we started developing the idea while being the commander of the Israeli South Command. And we started building 2004 and 2006, we opened. What we have in Aleh Negev now, 160 children like him, number one. 500 workers, 800 volunteers. I have volunteers also from 12 different countries. from Guatemala, from United States, from Taiwan, from Canada, from Australia, from United Kingdom, from Holland, from Germany, from Peru, you can't believe. And we have among the 500 workers, I have 100 Muslims. See, so, you know, I have Christians, Muslims, and Jews, all of them working in full harmony. I think this is a utopian place. There's no place in the world, I think, Muslim, Christian, and Jews working in full harmony, dedicated their life and mission to love disabled people, just like that. And every one of them saying, we got proportion, we become better people, more humble, less selfish, more giving, and children, the disabled people, they are educating us. You know, they remind us, our temporary creature, every day, they remind us, our ego, they remind us to be humble every single minute. So, you know, in this village, we also decided not any more discrimination against disabled people like our son. Not anymore. They are equal people. Never leave them behind. So what we did, it's not institute. You said institute. It's not institute. It's social community center. How we did a social community center. We serve all the people who are living in south of Israel. About 1 million people from the line of Kiryat Gat, Ashdod, Ashkelon, Netivot, Ofakim, Mitzpe Ramon, Arava, Elat. We serve about 1 million people. How we serve them? Number one, rehabilitation services. We have a contract with the Israeli HMOs. You know, about 20% of people, sometime, someday, they are wounded. Sport accident, road accident, work accident, stroke, some other disease, corona. You know, okay, people need rehabilitation. What is the rehabilitation? We have about 12 different services like hydrotherapy, physiotherapy, communication therapy, horse riding, animal therapy, psychologist advice, psychiatric advice. So we have
unbelievable
many treatments which is under the profession of rehabilitation services. So that's number one. We build rehabilitation services, strong rehabilitation services. So let's say at the same swimming pool, you may find a mayor, a soldier wounded in battle, and someone, or Bedouin child, and someone like our loved child. Together, they do it together. You know, yeah, no difference between Muslims or Jews. That's number one, rehabilitation. Number two, thank you. And number two, education. We have ordinary kindergarten, and we teach children from age 1. We teach them what is love. We teach them what is social responsibility. We teach them from little age how to treat those who are unprivileged, those who were hit from birth, maybe brain damage or something else, and they need to show responsibility, not arrogance, not say, oh, okay, I'm strong, okay, leave him behind. No, 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 no. You are stronger, assist those who are unable to manage their life. So this is education. Number three, volunteers. We have in Aleh Negev, we have 800 volunteers. You know, I can give a better treatment than any hospital in the world. In the world. Why? Because on every worker from the 500, I have nearly 2 volunteers working with him. I have more manpower. You know, this is Negev. Negev is almost empty. No population in Negev. Most of the population of the state of Israel is the center of the state. Tel Aviv, Haifa. This is, you know, that's most of the population of Israel, not in the Negev. Only 8% of Israeli population stay in the Negev. So in this empty Negev desert, we have about 800 volunteers from all over the world, and soldiers and students from universities and high school, and they all volunteer and work together with our professional staff and raise the bar of.
When I come to Israel, I want to come on a visit. I want to talk. I want you to show me.
You must come and visit.
Talking about youngsters and volunteering and motivating young people is always a challenge, I'm sure, in Israel and across the world. you know, how do we kind of push into our young people today this idea of passionate motivation to get involved in a cause and be passionate? What's your advice for young people?
I think number one is the commitment. Number one is the belief. You know, we are temporary creature. We come one day, we pass away on the other. We don't know how much time we have in our life. We don't know. But we need to understand that every minute in our life, every second is treasure. We need to treasure it. And we need to be very focused on meaningful life. I think this is the most important, meaningful life. You know, don't waste our time on stupid things. Don't waste our time. So that doesn't say that, that there's no humor, no laughing, and of course we need laughter, but we need to dedicate most of our life in a goal. And I think, you know, being part of the Jewish people is something great. Well, we need to be very proud on the Jewish people, be part of the Jewish people. We need to have our belief. We need to understand that the guarantee of the Jewish people is a state of Israel, guaranteeing all the Jewish communities all over the world. All over the world. You know, I did many operations to save Jews, many places, far away, not only the Entebbe. You know, about 6 years in Sudan to bring Jews from Ethiopia were at life danger, at risk. I served the pilot who was shot down by Hezbollah in Beirut. So the state of Israel is the guarantee of the Jewish people. We need to be strong.
Hashem is the guarantee of the Jewish people. Hashem.
Of course, but you know, but Hashem also in Mount Sinai, yes, we said Na'aseh venishma. So first of all, we need to do. We are tested by our action. Prayer is important, but we are tested.
Hishtadlut, that's a basic Jewish principle. We have hishtadlut. We have to put in our efforts and do everything humanly possible to save a life and to help the world and to do tikkun olam. Tell me something. How has faith played a part of your life, and faith in God and faith in Judaism played a part of your life?
How?
To what extent has faith and belief in God played a part of your life?
I think, you know, each one need a faith. We can't manage our life without faith. You need faith, you need dedication, you need commitment, but so it's something inside. It's something inside your soul, you know, this feeling that you have life which is independent on your will. And yes, absolutely, you need the faith, because no one guarantees what will happen at the next minute or next day. So you need to have a faith, and a faith in our people, a faith in our society.
Can I ask you to tell me briefly about the family that you lost in the suicide bombing? What happened?
In Haifa?
Yeah.
A woman, supposedly a lawyer, 28 years old, came with a stomach, supposedly pregnant. Supposedly lawyer, supposedly pregnant. She came with the stomach to about 30 kilogram explosive charge, and she came between my uncle Zeev Almog and his wife Ruti, exploded. There were 9 around the table. So Zeev was submarine commander. He was also the principal of our Naval Academy in Akko. Zeev was killed, his wife Ruti, Holocaust survivor, Auschwitz Holocaust survivor, but also officer in our Navy. Their son Moshik, 43, Zeev was 71, Ruti was 70, Moshik was 43. 2 grandchildren, Asaf and Tomer, 9 and 11, were killed. Doron Almog lost his sight, he's blind, he was 10 years old, now he's 26. He continued studying in the same high school that I did, the Reali school in Haifa. He was an excellent student, blind student. He joined the military as blind. He spoke in the United Nations 2 years ago on behalf of the victims of terror. He spoke about funding terror action by the Palestinian Authority, Arafat, Abu Mazen, that, and this is one from the family. Another one of the family, Adi, his daughter. She was 7 years old. She lightly wounded in the bombing, but she is officer in our Navy. So the grandfather, Zeev, was the submarine. By the way, Zeev Almog was killed in the bombing in Haifa. I changed my family name to Almog because of him, because he brought the Leviathan submarine from United Kingdom. UK sold Israel 2 submarines, Dakar and Leviathan, 1968. Then 1968, and they started the cruise of the 2 submarines from Portsmouth, UK, 1969, and the Dakar submarine sank along the voyage near Italy. We lost all the sailors of the Dakar. So Zeev was the captain of the Leviathan submarine. So Adi, who wounded, she was 7 years old. She wounded in a bombing. She's now officer in our Navy. And it's unbelievable. Omri was on the way to the restaurant. He didn't arrive, but today is F-16 pilot. And Orly, the mother of Adi and Eran, lightly wounded, and Galit, critically wounded. Galit is the mother of Omri, who is the F-16 pilot.
You know, it's unbelievable listening to this. I mean, what you've only been through in your own life, aside from the suicide bombing and losing a brother and having a highly disabled child and being through Entebbe and being through all the wars and all the missions, you live with such resilience and positivity. How do you function on the level of Simchat HaChayim and positivity that you have?
You know, it's we are doomed. I believe. You know, it's written in Pesach. In Pesach, you said "Bedamai Chayi." What is Bedamai Chayi? Okay, some having good life and don't know what tragedies. Some, and the Jewish people in general, the Jewish people have known a lot of tragedies along our history. Second World War, 6 million. 6,000 were killed during the independence war, 1% from my parent generation. And we pay high toll for being Jews, for the only Jewish state in the world. We pay high toll. But we are doomed to continue the legacy of the Jewish people, to continue building the state of Israel. We need to be optimistic. You know, in Purim you say, Mishenichnas Adar Marbin Besimcha. You say, you teach your community, Marbin Besimcha. How come, you know, for how long? For how long
when the month of Adar begins, we increase our joy.
Yeah, for how long? For how long? 1 day, 2 days? No, until it comes again. 365 days. Yes, we are doomed to be optimistic. We are doomed, you know, from every tragedy to lead ourselves, navigate our society, our community with much better, to give optimism, to give power. But we are tested in crisis time. We need to have power. You know, we have no alternative to be broken. We have no alternative. One day we pass away, but we have no alternative. We need to be strong. And we need to encourage each other. We need as a community to guarantee ourselves. And we need this commitment. We need this dedication. We always need to remember that the social chain is measured by its weakest link. The more we do to strengthen the weakest link in our society, we are better human beings, we are better society, we are stronger society, we are stronger state of Israel. You know, speaking about Tikkun Olam, speaking about society of example. What does it mean, society of example? You know, we need to do good things to strengthen the weakest links in our society. Never leave the wounded behind, never leave the weakest behind. Yes, the mutual responsibility, one for each other. You know, these are the values which guiding us, all of us. We need to be guided by the values. the tragedies, maybe the bedamai chai, the blood, okay, maybe around us. We need to be strong enough to continue navigating ourselves forward and give meaning to our life. That's
Doron,
it.
Doron, this has been an unbelievable privilege for me to sit with someone like yourself. I understand clearly why you won the Israel Prize, the highest honor you can receive in Israel. You should be continued to be honored for all the great things that you've done. You should continue to see great success. And thank you so much for this absolute privilege.
Thank you. Thank you, Rabbi Yoni. And I wish all your community to be strong, to be positive. Come and visit Israel. Remember, we are Jews. We need to be proud on our Judaism, on our community, on our values, and to continue doing good things.
Amen. Thank you so much, Doron. Thank you so much.